Today is most certainly a historic day, and that, I think, goes, without saying. This is potentially the last debate that we will ever have here in the General Assembly regarding the death penalty here in the state of Connecticut. And I understand the moral argument of us taking someone's life. I understand the argument against state executions and should the government be in the practice of killing people. I understand the religious argument. I myself am Roman Catholic, and I understand how strongly it is that perhaps, we should really reconsider taking the lives of others. And I understand the argument that it's not a deterrent. It may be a deterrent, but it's certainly not an effective one. But I stand here today to discuss why I oppose the repeal of the death penalty, because I do it by putting myself in the shoes of the victim's family. I can only think to myself that if my wife or my mother or any other family member or close friend was kidnapped or held hostage, secured to a bed, raped, sodomized, and then left to die an agonizing death through inhalation of smoke, as the children of the Pettits did that day, I say to myself, I would want nothing less than the retribution of equal and swift death of that murderer. And this debate shouldn't be about emotions, as our fine leader, minority leader, mentioned earlier. It may not be about revenge. It's about retribution. It's about justice. And I think it's important for us to keep the death penalty as a tool for our justice system. But before I finish, I'd like to bring attention to one particular inmate on death row. And the representative from Waterbury was very eloquent in his discussion of this particular case, that of New York City crack dealer Richard Reynolds. Richard Reynolds murdered a Waterbury police officer named Walter Williams in cold blood on the streets of Waterbury. Now, this is something that is very personal to me. As some of you may know, my brother is a police officer. My uncle is a police officer. My father-in-law was on the job as well. Something that is very personal to me and to many of you in this chamber, as some members even are on the job themselves. And many of you have family members that serve in law enforcement. And with that said, Madam Speaker, the clerk has an amendment. It is LCO 3179. This amendment simply says that the death penalty will still apply if convicted of murder with special circumstances for the murder of a state or local police officer while serving in the line of duty. Something that is very important to us, Madam Speaker, and I move the adoption of the amendment. And just to mention why it's so important that we maintain this equal and swift retribution for this type of crime when killing a police officer in the line of duty, is the case of Brian Ellington from East Hartford, 1999. He was killed simply by responding to a noise complaint in an apartment complex. He didn't show up on the scene, or wasn't aware of showing up on the scene of a potential murder taking place or a shootout or something of that serious nature. Instead, he thought he was responding to the scene of a noise complaint, but instead lost his life that evening. And his killers chose to plead down so that they wouldn't have to face the death penalty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the death penalty is only applied when a jury of their peers convict them, and then that same jury of their peers, what our justice system is based on, then decides that their crime was so heinous that it deserved the death penalty. Madam Speaker, I believe with this amendment that the killing of a police officer in the line of duty deserves the death penalty, and I thank you very much.